Not all heroes wear capes, and what if in today's story, the hero is a 9-year-old boy in a wheelchair? 2 children forgotten by the world, imprisoned by the one man who was supposed to protect them. A month of starvation, cold, and silence. But when no help came, what this boy did was what no one expected and shook the entire town and even changed the laws. Listen until the end, and please also let us know where you're listening from. In the cold belly of a rundown house at 82 Hollow Creek Drive in Beacon, New York, 9-year-old Malachi Reed sat in a rusted wheelchair beside his 3-year-old sister Ava, tucked beneath a nest of old blankets. Their father, Travis, a once disciplined ex-military man whose mind had begun to unravel after their mother's death, had locked them in the basement for their safety, a twisted rationale that masked his descent into paranoia and resulted in a 28-day nightmare of hunger, fear, and isolation. Malachi had memorized every crack in the concrete walls and named the water stains on the ceiling to pass the time. Ava, weak and pale, still asked for stories. And Malachi, always the protector, told her tales of a princess who lived in a magical underground palace, waiting to rise and reclaim her kingdom. Their food had dwindled to stale crackers and drops of water collected from a leak in the foundation. Malachi, born with spina bifida, had long learned to adapt. He used his upper body strength and problem-solving mind to keep Ava alive, rationing each crumb and spinning stories to keep her spirits up. One night when Ava whispered, "I want to see the sun," Malachi made a silent vow they were getting out. While rummaging through old boxes in the basement, Malachi discovered an ancient smartphone buried beneath tangled cords. Though cracked and nearly dead, it still worked. With it, he began documenting their imprisonment, photos of the heavy deadbolt on the outside of the door, their sparse meals, Ava's shrinking frame. He took exactly 23 photographs, each a silent witness to their suffering. If they didn't survive, the photos would speak for them. Using a broken spoon handle and sheer, unrelenting determination, Malachi began loosening the screws on the industrial deadbolt that had kept them trapped for nearly a month. Each night, while Ava slept curled in her blanket nest, he chipped away in silence, careful not to make a sound that might betray his efforts. 4 screws, then 6. His arms ached, his fingers blistered, but he refused to stop. On the 28th day, with Ava unconscious beside him and the shadow of death creeping closer, he removed the final screw with trembling hands and opened the door to freedom. But freedom was 14 stairs away, stairs that his battered, decades-old wheelchair couldn't climb, each step a towering barrier between captivity and the outside world he had dreamed of for weeks. Cradling Ava in his arms, Malachi dragged himself up the wooden staircase using only his arms. His legs were dead weight, his arms burned, but he climbed. At the top, he faced another challenge, 5 locks on the front door. One by one, with frozen fingers, he undid them. The door creaked open, and snow poured in like light from heaven. He wrapped Ava in a blanket and whispered, "I'll be right back." Then he descended into hell once more to retrieve his wheelchair. With Ava bundled in his lap, Malachi wheeled into the snow-covered streets of Beacon at 3:30 a.m. The wind was brutal, the snow blinding. Streetlights cast pale halos across the ice. They were alone, frozen, starving. Still, he pushed forward. "Tell me about the sun," he said, urging Ava to stay awake. But she had gone limp in his arms. Just when hope began to fade, Malachi saw it, a beacon of yellow light in the snow, Crosswinds 24/7 marked. Inside was Janelle Morris, the night clerk and a former EMT. When Malachi pushed open the door, Janelle saw 2 half-frozen children wrapped in damp blankets. Her instincts kicked in instantly. Janelle warmed them with emergency blankets, gave them water, and called 911. She saw the blood on Malachi's hands, the bruises on Ava's thin arms, the hollow look in his eyes that spoke of exhaustion far beyond his years. Every detail screamed of a deeper story. When she gently asked if there was any proof, Malachi handed her the phone with shaking hands. The pictures told it all: deprivation, abuse, isolation, captured with heartbreaking clarity. She scrolled through them in stunned silence, watching in horror as Ava slowly transformed from a chubby, bright-eyed toddler into a fragile, skeletal figure whose very life seemed to flicker through the screen like a dying candle flame. Detective Maya Ellison arrived as paramedics rushed Ava to Hudson Valley Children's Hospital. In a small office at the back of the gas station, with a space heater buzzing in the corner and the faint scent of coffee lingering in the air, Malachi told his story, methodically, with the precision of someone who knew he had no margin for error and no second chance to be believed. He spoke of his father's spiraling paranoia, the suffocating weeks of captivity, the gnawing hunger, and the final night when he carried Ava up the stairs with nothing but his arms and willpower. He never cried, but Maya saw the weight in his eyes, the eyes of a child who had aged far too much in too little time. The photos, he told her, voice steady but barely above a whisper. Make sure the police see all 23. They tell the truth. Later that morning, Travis Reed was found unconscious behind Murphy's Tavern, overdosed and muttering incoherently about people watching him through the walls, convinced that someone had been following him for weeks. Disoriented, paranoid, and barely breathing, he was rushed to the ER, stabilized under police watch, and immediately placed under arrest once conscious. The photos Malachi had taken became front-page news across New York State, and irrefutable evidence in the trial. While Ava recovered in the hospital, social services located their aunt, Vanessa Reed Campbell, a nurse in Schenectady. She had tried for months to reconnect with her brother's family but had been shut out. Now she vowed to protect what was left of it. Vanessa painted Ava's new bedroom in soft pinks and filled it with glow-in-the-dark stars. For Malachi, she installed a workstation for his love of engineering and coding. They were finally home. Travis Reed pleaded guilty and was sentenced to 15 years in prison. At the sentencing, Vanessa read statements from both children. Ava's was simple. My brother saved me. I'm not scared anymore, Ava said, clutching a stuffed bear as her voice echoed in the hushed courtroom. The judge paused, visibly moved. Malachi's statement followed, closing the courtroom in stunned silence. His voice was calm but carried the quiet strength of someone who had seen too much and survived all of it. I documented our suffering because I knew one day someone would care, and now they do. I forgive my father, but I will never forget. 6 months later, Detective Ellison visited them in Schenectady. Ava was thriving. Her laughter filled the house, and she had just learned how to ride a bike with training wheels. Malachi was building intricate robotics from donated kits and had become a local hero, giving talks to social workers and educators about spotting the hidden signs of abuse and neglect that almost stole their lives. I want to be an investigator one day, he told her, or an engineer who helps police. Maybe both. You already are both, Maya said. And you did it before turning 10. Malachi's photos are now used in training seminars across the state, projected onto screens in classrooms, courtrooms, and policy forums. Each image is a stark reminder of the silent suffering that often goes unseen. His courage not only moved hearts, it sparked legislative hearings and helped drive tangible reforms in child welfare policies aimed at earlier intervention and better protections for vulnerable children. And Ava? She sleeps beneath stars on her ceiling, dreaming not of palaces, but of sunny days, playground swings, and her big brother beside her. Because in this story, the princess didn't need saving. She rescued herself and took her brother with her. If you were in Malachi's place, what would you have done? Would you have had the courage to save yourself and your sister despite your disabilities? If you found someone in situations like that, would you have jumped in to help? Please do let us know in the comments, and thank you for listening to Storyline Narratives.